Okay. Alright, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is just going through some basic Arma-free editing stuff, like how to set up your own mission and well, prepare it for multiplayer game so that you actually can host it for other players. So it's all about based out of making your own mission.pbo, which is like all the necessary things for hosting the actual mission itself. We have all the tools we need inside Arma 3 already. Right, can you hear the in-game sound as well?
Not yet.
No.
No? Okay. Well, that's not really necessary. Either way, um, yeah, let's gotta fix one thing. Right, there we go. So, on the main menu of the game, you have the editor. You can also access this one from a single player and then editor. Just for a showcase, we're going to be using as a small map as possible. So the things we're going to go through today is, well, we're going to start up what to go through inside the editor itself. Um, like all the different kind of features you have, how to placing down units, compositions, and all of that. Then we're going to go through the mission file, how to save it, where to save it, and how to access it when needed. We're also going to go through how to place down units, make them playable, and setting up a respawn system, adding a arsenal, full or restricted, and also setting up a Zeus module, which is like the most common way of playing a mission. By having a game master guiding through the mission. The other type of mission would be like a scripted mission where you have different kind of triggers that activates at a certain time or location and then spawns in units. But that's slightly more advanced and we're not going to go through that on this training. Last thing, if we have time for it of course, is to go through the inbuilt tasks system. It's a really nice system that's not really been used so often. Um, but I guess it really depends on amount of players and stuff like that, and how you want to set it up. Most milsim kind of games don't really use this one because of you having this kind of markers like floating 3D markers, which doesn't really make sense. So some people simply doesn't prefer them. I think they look really cool though, so we're going through them later. Okay, so on the stream right now, you should be able to see like the Eden editor and all of this. On the top, we have a few different kind of options, like how to save the mission and so on. We can also go through different kind of settings for the mission itself. We can fiddle around with the add-on options, like if we want to change Ace medical settings or whatever. But regarding this part, be a little bit careful because most servers use their own kind of server settings. So even though that you, for example, never want to have Ace fractures enabled, or like, yeah, if you simply just want to have that disabled, then the server will override that. So even though that you have spent time in the mission setting up your settings, the server may override it. Just so you are aware of it. You can easily load and save settings. And if you save a setting here, you can easily implement that on a dedicated server environment later on, if you have access to the admin menu, of course. More to that later on. Now, um, to place down units, it's quite easy. On the right side, you have the assets. In this one, you can scroll through the list and find a suitable unit that you want to place down. Uh, just press on it and then click on the map. On this one, the absolutely first unit, that will always be your player unit. The other type, as you can see if we place down a second one, does not have this kind of circle around it. This means that this is not even playable at all. So this will basically just be an AI running around doing his thing. The other type is just playable. Then you will have this kind of pink circle around the unit. When a unit is playable, or when it's have this kind of red circle around it, that means that it's going to be accessible in a multiplayer environment. This red circle you have here, when it says it's just a player, that's only really important if you play in a single player environment. So when you make it a mission, you need to make sure that you check through, are you playing a multiplayer mission or a single player mission? If you play in a single player mission, it's just a like default environment. So in the play scenario, it will simply just start up. It will simply just start up with that character that you just have as your player. While if you're starting up the game in a multiplayer, so play in multiplayer, then you will see the two units that you can play. All right. Always when doing testing on a mission that you intend to play in a multiplayer environment, should always be tested in a multiplayer environment. There's like a huge difference between how well, it's just codes and all of that, but it's different environments basically. So always do your testing in a multiplayer environment. As you can see right now, it says down here in the bottom, play scenario in multiplayer. If you want to switch back to single player, you can just press over here, play in single player. Alright, that's how you're placing down units. You can also place down compositions to make things easier. If you go to groups, then you can place down a full squad of units. And as you can see, all these blue units, they're called the blue 4. This is mostly like Western kind of units. And you have Op 4, makes sense, CZ forces and other kind of normally being playing as the enemies. Independent, that is like an independent role. They can be friendly to both sides, hostile to both sides, or friendly to one side and hostile to another. You can easily switch who the independent forces is going to be friendly to by heading up to Attributes, General, then Independent Allegiance. As the setting is right now, the independent forces is friendly towards the blue 4 and hostile towards Op 4. I don't need to start a scenario to for you guys to figure out who's going to win this battle. Okay, that's a little introduction of the different kind of factions. We also got one last faction, the civilians. Civilians are friendly to all factions. And from what I know, it's not... Well, it may be able to change the allegiance of the civilians, but not by default. If you do it by scripts, it may be possible. But that's another story for another time. Last section over here is the props. This is just empty things. So, for example, you can place down buildings or whatever you want to do. When placing down a building, sometimes normally you just have it aligned by, different kind of, how do you say it?
Terrain.
Yeah, different kind of terrain, or, you can change like how you want to align it, basically. There are several ways of doing it. You can also rotate different kind of objects if you want to, although it will look pretty weird on the mission later on, but sometimes you want to make some cooler things, like let's say that we want to spawn down some camping. Right, we got a chair and we got a table. Just gonna fix the align thing. There we go. Now we want to place down an axe. But we want this axe to lean towards the table. Oh, 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 oh. Nearly, nearly. There we go. And twist it a little bit. Like that. Like that. Back to the rotate. Like that. Well, you know, it's not perfect, but you get my point. How you can do things. Even though, when we start up the game as it is right now, this axe, due to Arma physics, will simply just fall down to the ground as soon as the mission starts. Let me demonstrate. Can't remember which unit we were playing as. Ah, took the wrong one. Okay, ignore my last. This axe stands where it is. Let me demonstrate with another object then. Okay, here's a share. I want the share to be floating for whatever reason. There we go. The share is not floating. So the way to make the actual object stay in the place we placed it is to double click on it so that we can open up the object's kind of settings or different kind of parameter values. We can go to special states and then we can simply just disable the simulation of the object. We can also disable the damage of the object. For example, if it's a camo netting, it's quite common that some player would accidentally hit the camo net and then it's just gonna lay down on the ground looking really stupid. So if you just disable the damage of the camo net, they cannot drive into it and it will simply stay in place to look good or whatever. There we go. We got ourselves a floating share. So that's a little bit of regarding objects, how you can fiddle around with stuff whenever you're making bases or whatever. On these groups, you can also access the props, and if you're running certain mods, in this case I'm running Achilles, you get some compositions. This is basically prepared bases or positions that is all done and ready to be placed. So you can just go whatever you want on the map. You can place something, let's say a camp, want a recon camp, and we want it to be placed out in the forest somewhere. Head out to the forest, place down the camp, and bam, we got ourselves a camp. Pretty sweet, pretty quick.
Could you make your own assets?
Yes, you can. If we go to just normal objects, and then we want to place down sand. Oh, sand bags. There we go. Let's start placing down some sandbags. And of course we want a floating sandbag. And we want this one to have the simulation disabled. Now, you mark all of the objects. So just drag and drop so that all the objects are marked. Right click on any of the objects. Go to let me just think for a second. I need to think a second. I believe we have, yeah, there it is. Save custom composition. Press on that one. Then you can choose a category to save it in. Give it a title. Killets floating sandbag. Always, as for good practice, never use space, but always use the underscore. This is for Arma to, not freak out regarding it. Alright. Now let's see if we can find the composition. So we head over to compositions. it will be located under custom. So here you have the props, and here you have the custom. Now, as you can see, I have several different kind of uh, compositions. But if we just use the search field and search for Killet's floating sandbag, place it down. There you got it. And that's our floating sandbag as well, because simulation is disabled. You can do this for other things as well, such as starting units. This is for quick mission making. For a typical example is nothing is going on and you want a mission going up, and then you can have a composition saved with starting units. You press on the starting units, place it down. This is just my vanilla settings, so this will work with any kind of mod set. And as soon as I have my unit placed down on the map, I can see that all of them are currently playable. So they are basically fit for fight as soon as I start this mission. All of these units will be having a playable attribute to them, so that the players can choose them. And then you can just mark all of them, or some of them. Go to Edit Loadout, and go to BI Virtual Arsenal, if you want to change the starting loadout. If you use the Ace Arsenal, the loadout will not be saved upon the mission start. So Ace Arsenal only for in-game, like actual when you're playing the game. The Virtual Arsenal only when when you want to change the starting equipment of the unit. It's just a more stable way of doing it. Right, if we go in here, we can just, for example, we want the uniform to be changed. There we go. Press OK, and then all the units will look the same. So you will change the starting loadout of every single unit that you just marked. If you don't want to do your settings that you just did, try to press Ctrl Z, and, well, in this case I thought like the loadout would head back, but yeah, Ctrl Z, Ctrl C, and Ctrl V works really well. For example, if I press my unit over here, just mark him, and I press Ctrl X, he's now cut out. If I press Ctrl V and hovering my mouse somewhere else, and he's back. In this case, if I press Ctrl C and Ctrl V, he will come in, but he's not a playable unit. Double click on him, make him playable. Now, next thing regarding playable units, something that triggers me when sitting in a lobby, is if you want to get the impression of like the attendance that you have spent time in your mission, then instead of having, in the multiplayer selection screen, Alpha 1-1 Rifleman, Alpha 1-2 Group Leader, whatever, you can change this. So double click on the unit, and on the role description, you can give him a name. In this case, Kill It. Game Masters. Please observe the @ that I'm using. This only works if you're running the mod CBA. We can take this douchebag and name him Grunt at Grunts. Play in multiplayer, and in the selection menu, you got the Game Masters and the Grunts. Sometimes you don't want the Game Master to be in top. The way to solve this simply is to cut out the unit that you just had. I believe in this case we're gonna have to do it cutting out the starting unit, pasting back in, starting up, and the Game Master will be in the bottom. So the unit that you edited the last, or placed in the last, will go down to the bottom of this list of units. Sometimes you have like a category of HQ, and maybe you want that one to be in the bottom of the lobby, because the grunts would be a more prioritized role. And you can just select that one instead. Makes sense. Another thing, now when we're trying this like scenario in the multiplayer, then one of them will be a AI. So you can disable this by simply just pressing Disable AI Player. But during milsim events, you don't want this because you don't want to. The first thing you do, joining the lobby and start to disable like hundreds of playable units. So we have a quick way of solving that. By that we go to attributes, multiplayer, and untick the box of enable AI. Now, play the scenario. The AI will automatically be disabled. Right? Any questions so far? Okay, enough of placing down units and stuff like that, I guess. So, next thing. Whenever we're playing now, players will die eventually. So therefore it may be a good idea to have a respawn system. There are two ways of setting up the, well, actually several ways of setting up a respawn system, but two like more common ways. In one way with markers, and one way with modules, so markers and modules. First of all, if you want to enable the respawn at all, it needs to be activated. You can do this from multiplayer. You head down to the respawn. Then you have different kind of settings here, but the most common one is respawn on a custom position. For the sake of it, we can put a respawn delay so the player, understand that he's actually died. And let's just add a spectator, but because it's a nice feature. Now we need someone to kill us. Oh, it was quick. Anyway, as you can see, I'm currently respawning on the timer that I just set. Now I'm back on the same position I were before. So, the respawn system as it is right now is that as soon as we die, we will basically just respawn where we died. This is a little bit weird, having players randomly teleported straight in. I guess some mission makers want it that way, but the most common way is that you actually have some kind of base set up where you're actually starting. Let's just place something down, a outpost. There we go, bam, base. Perfectly placed. Now one way of setting it up is with the markers. You can go to markers, place down any marker basically. Go to system and empty. The reason why I like this marker is that this one is not viewed well, it will basically just be invisible to other players once you're in game. Double click on a marker and name it respawn. Now if we start up this mission again, I'll just manually respawn for this one. Our countdown starts again. And we're respawned back in base. Right, excellent. So the other way of setting up a respawn is with modules. In that case, you cannot have the empty respawns because if you correction, you cannot have the markers. We go to modules, then simply just place down respawn. Respawn position. This will enable another fancy armor-free system. first of all, we decide the name of the respawn. In this case, FOB Duckface. Type of the infantry can be only planes, helicopters, tracked, wheeled, etc. In this case, we want to have infantry. The side would have to be blue for. That's the faction we're playing. Show to. In this case, we just show it to everyone. Notifications disabled because it doesn't make sense to have pop-ups on your screen. Press OK. Press play scenario. Ooh. That's why I want to disable the simulation of the base, so you don't get like flying containers. I didn't set that one up correctly, I guess. Yeah, I guess I remember what I did wrong here. So, respawn position. Side blue for. Then let's try to synchronize him to our players. No! I did something wrong. Right, fuck off. I'm sure it's something super easy. Let's come back to that soon. I know that Paulie were using the respawn position not so long ago. From what I remember, it should just be there. Let's just see, so it's not this one that's fiddling around with it under the settings. Well, never mind. Go with the marker for now. I'll come up with a solution for the respawn position later on.
I remember I used it in the first one that didn't work, and then it was working for me, but I really don't remember how I did it.
Yeah, normally this one should just work. Just placing down the module and then it should be set. Leading side. I can't tell you why it doesn't work at the moment, to be honest. Well, just ignore that one. Use the marker. It's much easier. You can use the markers as well if you want to have like randomized positions. For example, if you place down a marker, in this case we name it respawn underscore west 1. And then you can place down a new one called respawn west 2. Sorry, it needs to be like this. If I remember correctly, this one would randomize one position of those. Ah, okay. Sorry, guys. This was the error before. I'll come back with it in a second. Actually, let's see if this works. This is just a quick test. Ah, there we go. So if you're placing down the markers like that, you can basically just choose wherever you want to spawn. So what I did wrong regarding the modules before was that the player couldn't choose where to respawn. So if we head back to the module, respawn position, and we'll place it down here. show it to everyone, notifications disabled, and it should be accessible to the blue for, and it's a infantry, and it's gonna be the base. Then we're gonna have another one outside of base. Then if we go to multiplayer, we want the select respawn position. I believe this was what was causing it for not working for us. So we try right now. Yeah, as you can see, we got it right here. And we are in the base. There we go. Sorry about that. That was me being retard. Normally I use the marker system because, I just want one respawn. But sometimes you want the players to have new respawns accessible to them. Good thing regarding this kind of system that I was talking about is that you can easily add respawns as a Zeus later on. So we're gonna go through that in a bit. Now we have our playable units, we got a base, and we can respawn. So what else do we need? I guess we need somewhere to load up. In that case, an arsenal. Absolutely easiest way of setting up the arsenal is to, of course, use ace and then use a full arsenal. You can use any object you want. I believe you even can use a sign for it. Let's see. I have no clue what that is, but let's make it an arsenal. Double click on the object, scroll all the way down in the bottom, go to Objects, Ace Arsenal, and I believe that should be it. Set it to whitelist. Actually, go to blacklist. That's just blacklist the banana. Fuck the bananas.
How could you?
Go to multiplayer. Ah, I need to remove this timer. There we go. Okay, where's my pole? There it is. Walking up to it. Ace interaction. Interactions. Arsenal. Bam. Full arsenal, but with no bananas. Because the bananas is restricted. You can do the same thing regarding a whitelist. If you want to make, missions the way I want them, is to speed up the gear up time by restricting the kind of items that you have inside the arsenal. And to do this, we go to the whitelist and simply just, mark the things that we want to use. For example, there we go, and we want a gun, one type of launcher, and a few different kind of bananas. That is everything we want. But of course you want the magazines for the rifles, and this is a absolutely fantastic way that they have made, or the Ace team have made. That is this button, add compatible items. It will check all your launchers, all your pistols, all your rifles, and check what's compatible with these items. And if you go over here and you press add compatible items, it will automatically add everything that's, available to work with that certain kind of weapon. We can do the same for the pack boxes, suppressors, bipods, and of course magazines. Before this button existed, there were so many cases of magazines missing in the arsenal. So this have really, increased and speeded up the way of doing it. Now let's play multiplayer and check our arsenal. Ah, I forgot to remove it. Remind me next time. Now let's see. Arsenal. And yeah, there it is. Argon plus the rifle that we started with. You cannot remove that one, unfortunately. But there it is. All the available scopes for it. And of course, we should be able to access medical equipment and all the different kind of magazines that's available for it. There we go. So now we have a base, we have a respawn, and we have an arsenal for the players to, well, load up the gear from. I guess the last thing would be to set up a curator. This is very... Yeah?
You wanted to remove the timer.
Thank you. Multiplayer. Timer.
Hello.
What? That's good, Polly. I can trust you. Okay. So, regarding the curator, it's very easy. Go to modules, and then you search for, I believe it's Game Master? No, yeah.
Yes, that's Game Master.
There it is. I normally call it curator. There we go. You place it somewhere on the map. Double click on it. Make sure, this is very important if you're running a modded game. As it is right now, only official add-ons will be included for you as the curator. That means that objects such as, well, for example, if you're running the cup terrain, so cup core, it will add a lot of terrain features that you can have available for the Zeus. But if you have it as the default settings, these, they will simply not pop up in your kind of list of your buildings and stuff like that. So what you want to use is all add-ons, including unofficial ones. That will include everything. You don't need to name the curator anything. This is basically just a name that pops up for other players whenever you getting assigned to this curator, which is totally unnecessary unless you really want to spam out to the players that you are now the curator. The owner, however, this is very important. As you can see, if you hover your mouse above it, you have several ways of setting it up. From what I understand, the most common way of doing it is hashtag admin logged. If you have it setting like this, it means that whoever is logged in as the admin will be assigned to this curator. Keep in mind that if we are playing this scenario in a multiplayer environment right now, since this is a local game, we will automatically be a admin on the server. So if we just launch the mission right now, well, we don't even need to play as this one. We can play as the grunt. And bam, there we go. We are now the admin, and we have access to Zeus. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you want to have several game masters. You maybe you want to participate in a mission as well. You want to have the possibility of playing whatever character you want. For example, you want to be able to play this character or this character, but you still want access to Zeus. The way you can do it is to assign the curator to your UID. UID is basically your Steam identity, which can be easily accessed by going to your profile. Go to your profile website, and in this URL, then the last digits here, that is your UID. So if you copy that back to your mission, set the owner as that, and then press OK. And then you can do that for like 3 other players as well. You know, for these 2. Doesn't matter. Let's play the scenario. Still want to play as a grunt. And we have access to Zeus. Right, so we got the curator, and we got Arsenal, respawn, everything. Now we just need a mission. No, you can just place down a few units, tell them in game with the Zeus interface, go there, kill them, and then you win the mission. Fair enough, everything works. If you want to prepare some more things on the mission, then you can start playing around with other things called triggers. Now you can do a lot with triggers. A trigger is basically something that will activate whenever something happens. It could be, you know, if a certain unit is killed, hashtag alive dude. Let's place down a dude. Here's a dude. What do we want to happen when this dude is dead? So the hashtag alive means when this unit is not alive, explanation mark means not, then we want a hint saying he was a dick anyway. Right, so what I'm doing here is just a piece of script, just code. This is not part of like this kind of training or tutorial, so this is just to demonstrate. So basically what this trigger says is that whenever this unit is dead, then give me this hint. We have named this guy dude. Let's play the mission. Here's our dude. Oh, he was a dick anyway. In the top right corner. So you can do more things with triggers. You have trigger area. This means whenever something is in this area, let's say whenever any blue 4 unit is present, then we want something to happen. In this case, hint, you're there. Let's just walk up to the area. Hey, we're here. Can you guys see it? Top right?
Yep.
Nice. So now you understand how triggers work. Of course, since this is meant for like new players, you know, scripts is not really a bad way of demonstrating this. So what we can do instead is simply just to make use of whatever assets we got. So under modules, we have something called tasks. Now let's move into the tasks. We want to give the players a mission to do something. In this case, I want the players to walk up to a certain position. In this case, let's walk up over here. You can place the module at this location. Double click on it. Who is the owner of this mission? In this case, I want all playable units because I want all the players to be in the same faction. So all the playable units will have this task. You can set it to a group of synchronized objects, side of synchronized objects, etc. Task ID is very important. This need to be unique. So you can't have two task create or like create task with the same ID. That will be a conflict and only one of them will be used. In this case, we're going to call this one task 1. Parent task is something more advanced. We're not going to go into that right now, but then you can give it a title. Recon the area. Go here and do your job. The destination.
Go.
Second.
I'm gonna have to leave, so.
Alright, yep, see you later.
See you.
The destination is going to be the place where this task will be. In this case, we want it to be on the module position, but you can set it to a specific object, or you can have it disabled and simply just place it on a marker. To make it easy, we have it on the module position. This task should at the start of the game be assigned, and the task type, you can basically give it an icon of whatever. There we go. Just find something suitable. Always visible, then you will always have this kind of waypoint attached to your face. For milsim events, that's not so attractive, I would say. Show notifications, same thing. You're having a big gas notification popping up in the middle of your screen. If you want to use it, use it. For testing purposes, we're going to have it enabled. Let's press OK. Then we would like some kind of confirmation that as soon as we reach this position, actually, let's place this one a little bit closer for testing purposes. Then we want something to trigger this. We want something saying that we actually have completed this object. Or maybe we don't. In that case, we can just leave it like this. But I prefer to have a system telling us that we have completed this mission. In that case, we have the set task state. Place it down anywhere on the map. Double click on it. And what should happen with this state? In this case, it should be succeeded. And once again, we have the show notification. If you disable this, you will not have a big ass hint in front of your face. Right click on this one, synchronize to the task. Right, so we have a task. We have something saying that it will be completed eventually. So what we can do is to place down a trigger with an area. Place it, on the just place it where we want the players to move. Double click on a trigger. The activation. When should this happen? When any player, when blue 4 is present, then it should only run on the server. The reason for this is that the tasks, the modules we're placing down, are being handled server side. So if you're not having the server only, it will run globally, and it may be that you have like thousands of pop-ups showing up in your face, and you don't want that. So server only. And then simply just press OK. And then you can do the same thing as to synchronize. You right click on this one, synchronize to it to the task. You can confirm that it's synchronized when you have this kind of blue line towards it. Let's place the respawn position a little bit closer. If we press M, and oh, I did something wrong. Task 1, all playable units. That's quite weird. Should have access to it. Okay, apparently Arma don't want to work with me today. Ah, okay. Now I see. Sorry guys. I believe the problem we have here is
You synced to the wrong one, yeah?
the task is assigned. Ah, yeah, that's correct. So basically, we are getting the object whenever we leave in the base. That's fine. We can have it like that, but that was not how I wanted to do. I synchronized it to the wrong object. Correct. Let's synchronize it to task state. Now let's redo this. Okay, now if we take a look on the map, we have the tasks, recon the area, go here and do your job. We go there and we do our job, and we get a big ass hint. Task has now been completed. So once we're here though, then as you could see, when we did it the first way, the task was not given to us before we actually reached this kind of area. So what we can do is that we creating a new task. Keep in mind that the ID needs to be unique. Kill the dude. There we go. Alright. And once again, we need a Juniper pick. Here it is. Actually, we want to use another one. We want to use a civilian because of reasons. Utility worker. This is actually a like, very dangerous war criminal. Once again, named Dude. Whenever we reach this area, and we want this task to be assigned to us. The task is a little bit different though, because we're gonna kill someone, so we want to change the kind of type. Then we want one more trigger, because as you can see, now we have something that will give us the task. As soon as we reach the area, we will complete one objective, and we will be given another. At the moment, we only have one task, recon the area. We're moving up to the area. Recon the area is completed, and we now have a new task, kill the guy. At the moment there is no trigger saying that, this guy, nothing will happen if we kill this guy. There's nothing to recognize it. So once again, we need to make use of the triggers. Place down a new trigger. Just double click on it. If alive dude, as we did before, then whatever. But let's just set it to server. And then just synchronize to a set task state. So if this guy dies, then the task will be completed, but we need to tell it which task, and in this case, that task. Alright, so in the map menu, this is just a lot of weird modules floating around and stuff like that, but this is actually like a full mission. If we would make this a little bit more fancy, let's say that we have this guy inside of a village, and your task is to sneak into the village, kill him. Then you would have all of these tasks set up, ready to go. this is just a very easy thing that you can do to set this up. There is like unlimited things that you can do with this. But let's just play out through our mission. Moving up to the objective. Let's do some recon of the area. Got a new objective. We completed the previous one. And due to Ace, he is unconscious. So let's just fully kill him. Kids, look away. He's dead. So the reason for it didn't activate as soon as he went unconscious is because of the server settings. As I said before, the server settings, they are handled by the server itself. You can fiddle around with the add-on options. Mission, medical, and try to find the AI unconsciousness. If that one would be disabled on the server, this guy would just, instantly die whenever we shoot him. There's nothing you can do about the settings unless you have access to like the admin rights on the server to actually change the settings. But that's something very more advanced and we're gonna go through that later. There we go. Now we died directly. Okay, unless you guys have any specific questions or like anything specific that you would like me to help you to set up, then I believe this may be the end of the training. Oh wait, we have one more thing regarding the Zeusing itself. Yeah, one more thing now. So we actually have a full mission now. We want to, export this as a multiplayer mission. So by doing that, we go to scenario, save as. Make sure that you go to MP missions because this is a multiplayer scenario. Name it something with like recon and kill. As I said before, no spaces, only underscores. Save it. As soon as you export your mission, it will be located in your Arma 3 folder, MP missions, and it should be here. But now it's not there.
Yeah. If you just show my mission like file, you can just show how bad it looks when you just don't do the underscore.
Oh yeah, this is a typical example. Here we have Paul's mission when he was using underscores. And here is my mission, Operation Killer Whale, when I'm using underscores. This is the reason why it's a little bit easier to see the difference. Now I'm a little bit worried why the mission doesn't pop up here. MP missions, recon. Did I save it in like a folder or something? Let's save it in a folder. Let's head over to the SPG folder.
Killet, why don't you try to use the option to search in a folder that is provided with Windows?
Default functions. Okay. While I'm working on this.
I mean, I'm in the kitchen, so what do I know without the screen? But I bet Killet did the export mission as PBO, just save this in a file in the MP mission folder.
Could be. Let's just head over to the MP missions folder, and here we have the recon and kill. Maybe, yeah, that's correct. I just saved it, and thank you. So what we did is that we saved it, and that created us a folder in My Documents. This is like the default shortcut to the mission folder. So your username, documents. If you have several Arma 3 profiles, it's going to be located in Arma free other profiles folder. Otherwise, it's just in the Arma free folder. Your username, MP missions, and here is your mission folder. Now let's make this a PBO. Now we go to the Steam apps, common, Arma free, MP missions, scenario, export to multiplayer. Now we will have our recon and kill. There we go. Sorry, I'm getting tired apparently. So as soon as you got this file, it's basically ready to be transferred to the server, to be set up on the server, and we can start fiddling around with like the settings you would like to have or whatever. But yeah, I guess this will be a full complete functional mission. There is one more part, but that's slightly more advanced, which I want to go through another time. But that comes in with the actual mission folder that you just created. So as soon as you save your mission, so scenario, save as, let's name this something else, recon and kill version 2, save it. It will create a new folder in your documents area, named whatever you saved it to, and then it will create this file. So the SQM file, that is basically just a data file of everything that you place down inside of the mission folder. Like in the mission, in the editor. So everything you have in the editor and you press save will be exported to a file called mission.sqm. So for the more advanced thing that we're going to go through another time is the the first steps to get into the scripting and like how things work within the mission file. What I can go through right now is just a few files. If you want to get into scripting and stuff like that, I strongly recommend the community.bystudio.com, and then you have the wiki over there. It will look something like this. There we go. And here you can find everything you need to know regarding scripting. This is the thing that's interesting in this case. Here you have the file that's going to be started up as soon as you start up the mission. For example, initserver.sqf, initplayer.sqf, and initplayerserver.sqf, and of course a file called init.sqf. With all these files, you can run scripts that will be scheduled. So we're not going to go through what that means, but it's basically something that will happen as soon as the server starts up. And all of that kind of code and scripts that you want to do is being placed down in this kind of folder. So if you want to make a SQF file, for example, name it init. Make sure that you save it as whatever .sqf. Here we have our first init file. You can see it's a SQF file. We double click on it. I normally use Visual Studio to write code. Here you can do whatever. Hint. Welcome to my awesome mission. This is just for testing purposes. Don't worry about it too much. Nothing you need to learn. There we go. Okay, let's start up the mission again. And as soon as you place a piece of code inside the inside of the mission folder, it will simply run if you place it down in one of these files that I showed you. Welcome to my awesome mission. Okay. Regarding scripts, and I guess what I wanted to do was this. Here we go. Now the message will pop up after 10 seconds. Just give it a second. And there we go. Right, so there's unlimited things that you can do with scripts and stuff like that, but it takes a lot of time to go through it. There's a lot of good tutorial videos out on YouTube that you can watch to get to learn more things. I'll save that for another tutorial later on, or like training, if you guys are interested and wanted to know more of it. But this is all of the things that you need to know to start to make a mission. So thank you all for attending. Not sure how many guys we got here. All right.
Oh, it's me, Polly, and Brody.
Yeah.
We had Luke and Shui a while ago.
All right. Yeah. Well, this stream have been saved as well. So if anyone want to watch it later on and like go back to how the fuck did he do that, or what did he say at that point, then you should be able to scroll back and take a look at it again. So I don't need to, repeat myself. To make it easy. But I hope this includes everything that you need to know. And Rovella, you got anything to add?
Not needed.
Okay. Well, I'm closing down the stream. Thanks for watching.